Welcome to episode 5 of the Damaged Chronicles. This is yours truly, Metal Ben here, once again.
And with Ryan Arnold, aka Demon Master Reviews.
Alright, so, as many of you out there know in the metal world, legendary German power metal band Helloween just released a new single called Skyfall. And I purchased the EP on Thursday. Been listening to this a lot. So, right now what we're going to do, we're going to give a track review and analysis of Skyfall. Now, they put out the edited version, as you all know. Now, this has the 12-minute and 12-second version, too, of Skyfall. And I believe I'm going to let Ryan Arnold start out first and give his opinions and review of the new track.
Well, when I get to some facts, obviously, Helloween, obviously going into this lineup, have brought back Kai Hansen and Michael Kiske along with Andy Durst, making them only the second metal band ever, only behind Mastodon, of course, to have 3 vocalists active in the band. But
Right.
but obviously with this song, I actually have listened to it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I always do like Helloween a little bit. They've always been one I've always had enjoyment with, even when the first time I listened to them back in 2013 with Stray Out of Hell. Always liked their stuff, and this was no different. This was great power metal. Obviously the European style of power metal that is famous, but not just them, but Stratovarius, Rhapsody, Rhapsody Fire, and so many others. I just named to name a couple. But yeah, I absolutely love this track. The guitars sound great. All 3 vocalists are great. I absolutely love it. I definitely recommend it. And by the way, I was only listening to the 7-minute version. Even the 7-minute version. I have not listened to the 12. I've only listened to the single edit one, and it sounds great.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I think it's a very good track. Now, I go a long ways back with Helloween, all the way back to the late 80s as a kid. First album I ever heard by Helloween was the first Keeper of the Seven Keys. Way back, I would have been 9 years old, which would have been around 1988. So, very, very long time. So, I'm definitely familiar with Helloween. And I think it's pretty awesome that they got Michael Kiske and Kai Hansen back in the band. I think it's excellent, So I'm going to go over the lineup right now. Might butcher a couple names here.
Yeah, obviously we got Michael Kiske, Kai Hansen, and Andy Durst on vocals. Kai Hansen, continue. And then with whoever on guitars, there is Kai Hansen, and you continue, Ben.
Okay. Well, yeah, Kai Hansen, vocals, and guitarist also. So we got 3 guitar players, too, also in Helloween. So we got Marcus Grosskopf on bass, who's one of the original members, who's been there since the beginning. We got Michael Weekath, another original member, on guitars. Oh boy. This name's pretty hard to pronounce. Sashka Gerstner. Shaska Gerstner, another guitar player, and Daniel Lobel
on the drums.
Yep. So yeah, that's your lineup. 7. They are a 7-piece right now, as everybody knows. Now, my first impression of the track. Now, Obviously, I heard the 7.5 minute version of it too when it first got put up on YouTube. Right away, I'm getting vibes of Keeper of the Seventh Keys, easily. Now, I believe Kay Hansen wrote this track. It does sound like his writing because I can definitely hear some Gamma Ray influences. Now, which is kind of ironic because Gamma Ray and Helloween musically really aren't that much different. I think Gamma Ray has more of the vocal harmonies as opposed to Helloween. They have a bit more of a Queen influence when it comes to Gamma Ray. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's brought here on this track. There's some very epic, grandiose moments on this track. I mean, there's definitely rips on here that stand out, melodies that stand out. Now, on the 12-minute version, yes, there's like a little acoustic orchestra type of breakdown in the middle where the vocals get pretty melodic also, you know. And I believe it's Kay Hansen singing behind the acoustic parts, at least on the version I have, you know. Now, vocally, I gotta say, they sound phenomenal. They sound absolutely phenomenal. Michael Kiske still sounds amazing. I mean, to me, this definitely sounds like a follow up or the proper follow up that should have been, Keeper of the Seven Keys, you know. Of course, we know what came after Keeper of the Seven Keys originally, Pink Bubbles Go Ape, which was a bit of a letdown of an album. But as far as this track goes, yeah, there's a lot of bombastic moments, especially at the end. It's got a very memorable chorus, a
Oh
very
yeah,
memorable, yeah, very memorable.
just the two between the dual singing between freaking Kai
Yeah,
and Michael.
I think
I love it.
it's absolutely impressive. I mean, and just the melody line behind it's very catchy. Like I've been humming that melody in my head all day today, you know. Yeah, it's very memorable, very catchy, which that's a very important factor when it comes into writing a track like this. You want it to be memorable and catchy, and you want it to grab you. Now
Absolutely.
the track to me does not feel like 12 minutes. That's how epic and bombastic and great this track is. It definitely drives you in and it keeps you in. Like I said, it feels like a 4 or 5 minute long track, but it's 12 minutes and 12 seconds. And it don't feel that way. Oh my god, and the drumming on this is freaking phenomenal. Yeah, Daniel Lobo definitely puts out a very awesome drum performance here. It's just an excellent track.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the full album. I'm trying to look up a date for the new album actually right now on Wikipedia. I'm not really seeing anything. Hold on. I know it comes out in June. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing a date for the new album on here.
Ah,
I know it's coming out sometime in June. And I'm definitely
yeah.
looking forward to it. And the new album's just going to be called Helloween. So I'm definitely looking forward to the album after hearing this track. I cannot wait to hear what the rest of this album's going to sound like, you know. So
Yeah,
do you
if I
got
can look
anything?
up.
You got
Oh,
any?
I gotta. Yeah, there's a date. There is a date. There is. I'll clarify you. There is a date. June 18th.
June 18th, okay.
Yeah, June
So yes,
18th.
June
I had to
18th on Nuclear Blast Records. That's when the new album will drop, and I'll definitely be getting it.
Yes.
And more than likely review it too. because to me, this is a very big album that's coming here in 2021. And this will be their first album in 6 years.
Yeah.
The follow up to this would be the follow up to My God Given Right, which came out in 2015. Which is kind of weird because Helloween has never gone that long without putting out an album. So, and I believe we're in for a masterpiece. This could be album of the year, potentially, when it drops. I'm really, really looking forward to the new album. Do you got anything else to say about it?
I am looking forward to it as well, I guess, because I'm sure we'll both be listening to it. I just have to listen to this song more often, but from what I've heard, it's an enjoyable track, and I am a little bit excited for the new Helloween.
Definitely, definitely.
Will be the first one I have listened to since Straight Out of Hell from 2013.
Right.
Because I never paid attention to My God Given Right.
Yeah. Well, Straight Out of Hell was a really good album. At least I thought it was.
Yeah, it was a great album. I loved it.
And they got so many great albums throughout their career. Straight Out of Hell. You got... let's look at the discography here. Obviously, Keeper of the Seven Keys 1 and 2. The debut album, Walls of Jericho,
Yes.
You got other great albums like Seven Sinners, Gambling with the Devil, The Dark Ride, Better Than Raw. All great albums. The Time of the Oath, Master of the Rings. Yeah, man, a lot of great albums in their history and in their discography.
Yeah, definitely.
But, yes. I believe that's pretty much all I got to say about the new Helloween track. It's going to be a big album, though. I know that for a fact.
Hell freaking yeah. Just depends on which version's going to be on the album. Probably the 12-minute version.
Right. Well, so far it looks like we have nobody here.
Yeah. Well, if I were to take over here, I also have a song that I have been listening to a little bit that I felt like, I should talk about this too. And I want to clarify, we never got to mention this at the beginning, but since he was taking over wanting to talk about the new Helloween song, I figured we take this episode into something a little bit different. We talk about 5 things, whether it be songs, albums, EPs, compilations, whatever the hell. And I do have a few on mine, and I have a song like as well, but obviously of a different style. The song I am going to be talking about is called "The Blade," and it's from a little project from ex Killswitch Engage and current Light the Torch vocalist Howard Jones, and YouTube guitarist sensation Jared Dines. The band is called Scion. Obviously, as you can hear because of what the band is all about when it comes to Howard Jones, kind of more of that metalcore style. I've been a fan of both of them for quite a while. Obviously, with Howard Jones being in Killswitch Engage for a little bit, when he was in Killswitch Engage, they sang the theme song to CM Punk in WWE when he was in there, called "This Fire Burns," which is a freaking awesome song. Oh, and they also covered Dio's "Holy Diver."
I remember that.
Yeah, they covered that. It was I will say, that's a pretty awesome cover. I kind of preferred that as much. I do have respect for the original one, but I do kind of like the Killswitch Engage version. But ever since he left Killswitch Engage, I think somewhere in between after their previous album, which was the self-titled 2009, and then 2013's Disarm the Descent, Jones, I think, went away, and then he started his own project. I forgot, it was original, different name before it was like the Torch. But then obviously during all that, Jones and Jared Dines went and filled in for Matt Heapy while he was on Baby Watch, where he eventually became that. and I believe Howard was doing vocals, and Jared was just the guitar. And they had been friends since then and wanted to do a project. And finally, it is happening. No release date of when the album is coming out, but they did a while ago put out a single, which I'm about to talk about. The music is pretty heavy. Oh, I should also mention Jared Dines is endorsed by Ernie Ball Music, the same guitar company that endorses John Petrucci from Dream Theater. So that's a big, awesome guitars. And his is no exception. But yeah, the music itself is obviously of the metalcore style. You know what you're getting. You're getting more. It is metal, but it's more in that hardcore based than say, Helloween. They're musically different, but obviously I like that style. Howard's vocals, harsh and clean, is fantastic. I've always liked his vocals. He's easily one of the best modern singers in metal. Easily. He's definitely up there when it comes to some of those new vocalists that have been around for a while.
Right.
Fun fact, Scion, the name of the band, Scion, is Howard's middle name. I just find that out. But the music itself is great. I love this style of music. Like, absolutely. Obviously, if it wasn't for this style of music, I wouldn't get into extreme metal, like, say, the death metal stuff. So I owe my respects to my starts into the heavy music with metalcore and some of those bands from that genre, because I transitioned into bands like Cannibal Corpse and Gojira later on, and Dream Theater in some cases. But the music itself is great. There's moments, there's the heaviness. There's also very beautiful melodic moments. Like I said, Howard's vocals, he's diverse when he does the growls. His growls are really great. His cleans are fantastic. Like, I absolutely loved his vocals on this song, and he does a fantastic job on this song that they'll put out a while ago. But obviously, I ain't gonna say much. Obviously, this song is great. I can't wait for the album to come out. Just like Helloween, I can't wait for both of them to come out because I loved what I heard from them. But obviously, that is my thoughts on this album. It's just, like I said, it's just two guys in the band. It's not like Helloween.
Okay.
So obviously, Ben, is there any albums, EPs, compilations, whatever that you always wanted to talk about that you don't have the need to do a ranking or retrospective for?
Well, I'll talk about this little CD I bought here the other day when I bought the Helloween CD. This band is from Germany. They have 6 studio albums out, and they're called, I don't know if it's picking up there, they're called Darkness.
Ooh.
Thrash metal band from Germany. Not like overly familiar with them. I just bought this pretty much out of a blind buy. But this album came out in 2020, last year. So, you got 8 tracks on here. Yeah, 8 tracks. And a cover of Skid Row's Slave to the Grind.
Nice.
Yes. It's freaking odd. It's definitely odd. I mean, it's definitely a heavier version. Now, this album, I'm going to have to hear their older albums. Like, this album did not blow me away completely. There's a couple decent tracks on here. I would say Every Time You Curse Me is a decent track on here. Dawn of the Dumb's a great track. Pretty much about the stupidity going on in society. Yeah. The Slave to the Grind cover's okay. Tinkerbell Must Die is an okay track. I mean, like I said, it's an album that didn't completely blow me away, but there's a few decent tracks on here. And they are called Darkness, and they are from Germany. And this would be their 6th studio album.
They're most recent.
Yes.
Yes. Obviously, some of the albums, Well, next for me, I got an album. Since we were talking about Helloween and Straight Out came out in 2013, I got an album from 2013 that I've always wanted to talk about, but never really got the chance to. And I at some point, I might do a retrospective for him, but at this moment in time, I really don't want to. But I wanted to talk about this album, and that is Impermanent Resonance from James
Ooh,
LaBrie, the
there
vocalist
you
from
go.
Dream Theater. This is his fifth overall, including the one Mo Musler and James LaBrie's Mo Musler. If I were to look at the lineup real quick, the lineup consists of obviously James LaBrie on vocals.
Yeah.
Matt Guillory does keyboard and backing vocals, as well as additional vocals and stuff like that. Marco Cifogli, who's been with James LaBrie in his solo band since 2006, that would have been the Elements of Persuasion, which, by the way, Mike Mangini was in this band before he ever joined Dream Theater. Then we got someone who ended up replacing him, Peter Wilder, who does drums and does harsh vocals on here, screams and all of that. And then we have on the bass Ray Riendo. Oh, and also someone else on here, additional guitars recorded by Peter Wickers, formerly of Soilwork,
Interesting.
on this album.
Quite interesting.
Yeah, on some songs he's usually the first guitar solo, and then Marco comes in late as the last one. So we'll start off with the song Agony. Fantastic opener. This was I believe, the first single they released in that year, and was relatively intrigued. I'm like, whoa, this is very interesting. This is totally different from James Bree. And come to find out, it's more keen towards melodic death metal, like Soilwork, like In Flames, like some of those other bands, which is really great. Peter Wilder's harsh vocals are great on here. James, at the time, he was still a great singer on here, and he does sing really, really well. And obviously, the growls kind of do help because he doesn't have to sing that often in this band, almost like a ballady type of song or something like that. But Agony is a great, great song. I absolutely love it. The solos from Peter and Marco are fantastic. Then it goes into the song Undertow. No, it's not a cover of Tool's Undertow. Fans have used the name for a while, but obviously I like this version a little bit. James takes over in this one. It's mostly James singing, unlike in Agony, where it's a good chunk of, there's a little bit of chunk on Peter, but Peter does sing on here. Some of the lines he sings on here are, he sings on here, just reading them on here. Nowhere to go, nowhere to go, nowhere to go. I'm stuck inside a nightmare. And also, don't let me go, don't let me go. Don't let me go twice. He sings that, but obviously, again, it's another one like Agony. Peter and Marco do great jobs on their guitar solos and stuff like that. That another great song on here. Then we get to one of my early favorites on here, Sleight of Hand. Again, it's kind of the same as Undertow, except I do love the solo. I love the solo from Marco on here. He has this really cool guitar solo after Peter does his guitar solo. And like I said, it goes back and forth between, it's less Peter and more James on here, but obviously for what they do on this, it's a great song. Another great song, just like Undertow. Then we get into one of the ballady tracks on here, Back on the Ground. No Peter on here. I don't know who did the solo on here. It might have just been Marco. But Peter is on here. I believe he's just combining doing the rhythm on this album. But he does a great song on here. And if you don't know basically it's kind of someone floating or someone thinking about, basically the lyrics kind of go like there's some key moments on here where it's kind of like you're trying to get back on the ground. Obviously, someone floating through outer space and trying to get them back on to Earth and all that stuff. Like, to give some pointers out of this, you're lost in outer space, and I don't mean to burst your balloon. All that stuff. Gotta get your feet back on the ground, shake off the stardust. A great ballad on here. Oh, I should get going back to Undertow. Matt does show him. Sometimes I could clearly hear Matt coming in a little bit more on there. But yeah, back on the ground. A great song, kind of a more mid-paced song, kind of ballady, but it's a more one of the songs where James is in complete control of vocals and stuff like that. No growls or anything. Then we kind of get back on that with I Got You, kind of that more of like what Undertow and Sleight of Hand were, more James, less Peter. Peter, when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I believe Marco was doing the solo on this one. Another great song. Then we get into two back-to-back really, really ballady songs. Holding On and Lost in the Fire. I believe Holding On does have a little bit of Peter on here. And it goes back to the Peter Wicker solo first, and then Marco coming in. But a beautiful ballad. And Lost in the Fire, not so much solos on this one, more of just, ballady style, and not like Back in the Ground, but there's really not much in the solo category when it comes to this one. Where the solo would be, James just sings over it. Obviously, these two just are ballady, and it's just James singing on it. And I absolutely love them. Then we get another one of my favorites on this album, Letting Go. I remember seeing a guitar cover that Marco did of this song, and he does really great in doing parts of not just his, but Peter Wicker's parts too, which are really great. And he does the solo on here. It's just Marco doing the solo on here. It's a great song, a very catchy song. Kind of like the other ones, mostly James, little bit of Peter here and there, but I do love Peter Wicker's, the Peter Wilderer's harsh on his vocals, like especially near the beginning where he says it's killing you, and he does a low guttural on the final me on here, and he kills it on here. For someone who does drums and harsh vocals, he does a really great job on this.
Awesome.
And then we get another. There's quite a bit of tracks on here. I will apologize. There's about 12 in the regular, but 14 in the. Then we get into kind of another ballady song, Destined to Burn. Kind of more of like Back on the Ground, a little bit more ballady, really great. And then it gets into, in my opinion, probably the best ballad on here. Say You're Still Mine, a great ballad. James, oh my God. If he's singing this legitimately, oh my God, he sounds freaking great in this ballad. He does a really great job singing these lines, and he does a fantastic job of doing the ballad style vocals on here. It's kind of reminiscent of songs like, say, Far From Home from Dramatic Turn of Events, Through Her Eyes, from those two Dream Theater albums. It's oh my God, one of the best ballads he's ever done. One of the best. I wouldn't say it's better than those two, but it's definitely up there.
Pretty interesting.
And then we kind of close out. I want to talk about just the regular editions. It closes out with two songs that are really more kind of similar in style, kind of more James, less Peter, with Amnesia and I Will Not Break, which they ended up doing an EP for it with two songs that were on this one. This one's the more limited edition version with two songs, Unraveling and Why, which would be on the I Will Not Break EP. Amnesia, obviously the lyrics are about trying to forget someone. And then I
Right.
Will Not Break is trying to not, I don't know what it would mean, try not to break and all that stuff. But overall, this freaking album is freaking awesome. I guess I could show the band. James, well, there's James right there. Then we got Matt, Marco, Ray's head in the background, and this one, if I can, where is it? Oh, fucking hell. This one right here is Peter Wilderer. If I can,
Okay.
yeah, this one's Peter Wilderer. He does the growls and the screams and stuff like that. But yeah, this album, if you're a huge fan of some of those bands I mentioned, Soilwork, In Flames, definitely get this album. This was also happened to be, I believe, Jens Bogren helped on this one too. And he also worked previously that year with Soilwork with the Living Infinite. Their double album. But a fantastic album. I absolutely love it to this very day, and I say, check it out.
Sounds interesting. I've never actually heard that album. I'm definitely gonna have to check into it.
All right. Well,
So,
any other albums you want to talk about?
wait, so this is kind of a blind pool. Now, this album came out in 2000, or not 2006. Came out in 1996. And of course, I'm
Ooh,
talking about Finnish power metal band Stratovarius
Stradivarius.
and their
Nice.
studio album Episode. This is a phenomenal album. I'm telling you. Yes. If you like Helloween, you like Ingwe Malmsteen, you'll like Stratovarius. It's like a combination of both, with a bit of a progressive side to it too. Like Father Time Begins, just straight up speed metal, you know, your typical Halloween type of power metal on that track. You know, when the sun, or excuse me, Will the Sun Rise is track two. Again, another ripping track with excellent guitar work. I mean, yeah, Timo Tolkki. This is back when Timo Tolkki was still in Stratovarius. I mean, he's pretty much the one who started Stratovarius, and it's no longer in Stratovarius. But he does a phenomenal job on here. If you like Ingwe Malmsteen, you'll like his guitar playing too, because he's got a lot of them neoclassical influences.
Wait, Timu, the guitarist for Winter Sun? That Timu?
No, no, no.
Oh, it's someone else.
It's somebody else. Timo Tolkki. Now
Oh,
he's guest. Now he's guest appeared on Alvantasia albums. Oh, I forget what the band's called he's in now. I'm gonna look it up quick. Oh yeah, here we go. Timo Tolkki. Okay. All right. I think it's Avalon. I think that's the current band
Ah,
he's in now, or he has now.
interesting.
But yeah, and he was actually the original vocalist of Stratovarius too on the first three albums, which would be Fright Night, Twilight Time, and Dream Space. And then they got where's the line up here? Oh wait, my bad. Okay. also they got Timo Cottapello on vocals around, you know, this time, who's currently in the band today.
Ah.
He joined on the Fourth Dimension album from 1995. Yeah, back in the 90s, they were dishing out albums literally every year. Like, yeah,
Ah.
like Episode from 1996. You got Visions from 97, Destiny from 98. You know, Infinite
Wow.
from 2000, Elements Part 1 from 2003, and Elements Part 2 from 2003. You know, they were just dishing out albums pretty rapidly back then. So, anyways, back to the album. Eternity's a great track. You would really like Eternity. It's pretty progressive, pretty heavy too. Starts off with a classical piece, you know, in the beginning. And it's just an excellent progressive metal track. Speed of Light picks the pace back up again. It's really fast, you know, typical speed metal, you know, power metal type of stuff there. Uncertainty's another tremendous track on here. It's got a really catchy chorus to it, really catchy guitar riffs. I mean, I'm telling you, it's really good. Then you go to track number 7, Season of Change. Oh my goodness, is this a brilliant track? It's really dark, it's really melodic, you know. Some great melodic vocals, some great neoclassical guitar work in here.
I need to pause you real quick because I'm reading the chat and here we go. Wyatt's Metal Life in here saying I'm surprised there's not anyone in here yet. Laughing emoji. Then we got Speaking with 2 albums and with 2 comments. A new Helloween album on the way, about time, and those live videos are hard for me to catch up. Different timing. Okay,
right.
Continue.
Yes. Well, we kind of went live a little late here due to the fact that I was working. And
yes.
Yeah, we were talking about the new Helloween track in the beginning, and we just decided to pick out random albums and talk about them just to fill time. So right now we're talking about Episode by Stratovarius. Oh yeah, I was talking about the track Seasons of Change. Oh my god, man, great track. I mean, it's a phenomenal track. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yes.
Let's see. Stratosphere is next. It's an instrumental track. It's pretty much an Yngwie Malmsteen neoclassical type of instrumental track, you know. That's pretty much it. Oh, Babylon's another excellent track on here. It's really, I would say it's kind of Dio influenced, you know. It definitely kind of reminds me of something Dio would do. It's got like that mystical, dark atmosphere to it. It's really good. You got Tomorrow, another decent track on here. You know. Nighttime Eclipse, another epic track on here that's just freaking awesome and has some great heavy riffs to it and a great progressive atmosphere to it. You know, Forever, short little speed metal number. And to end the album off, we got When the Night Meets the Day, which is a great ending to the album. Yes, Episodes from 1996, released on Noise Records by Stratovarius. Great power metal album.
Yes. It's when you mentioned one of the songs was what, called Season of Change or something like that?
Oh yeah, because of Dream Theater.
Yeah, because of the album I'm about to talk about.
And it's ironic, it came out around the same time.
Oh yeah.
Which is even strange.
Yeah, Dream Theater, at some point we are going to do a ranking for Dream Theater. But one of the albums we unfortunately have to omit from that list because they're about to have 15 albums. And this would just make it 16 and it would just be ridiculous. But we had to omit probably one of their best albums or EPs. A change of
Seasons of
seasons.
change. Yep.
This was released in 1995 via East West Records, which was just kind of a label, which was a label owned by Atlantic Records.
Yep.
The lineup at the time, obviously the great James LaBrie on vocals, John Petrucci on guitar, John Myung on the bass, Mike Portnoy on the drums, and making his debut. This is his debut with the band on keyboards, Derek Sherinian. This is, I believe, a 50-minute or so EP, but taking out all the cover songs, because I'm not going to talk about the cover song. You got the song A Change of Seasons itself is 23 minutes long. And in my opinion, probably the best 20-minute Dream Theater song, period. As before we get in, why it says JP is a beast, absolutely.
Right on, man.
This song was actually, I believe, this version of the song, because they had been playing it and having different versions of it during the whole, since 1989. And they were going to write this for Images and Words, which is why with this album, they bring back the people that they work with on Images and Words for this album. And it had different iterations and all that. The lyrics were written by Mike Portnoy, believe it or not, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. Considering it's kind of like their 2112, which is another 20-minute song written by Neil Peart, the drummer.
Right, exactly. Neil Peart, obviously.
Coincidence? I think not. But everybody knows about this. There's multiple parts to it. Obviously, the Crimson Sunrise. Everybody knows that little intro ditty. I believe it might be a concept a little bit about a dude or something like a child that grows up to be an old man of, old age, and he has a child and all that stuff. The instrumentation is all over the place. Well, obviously, it's what you're getting with Dream Theater in the 90s. It's what you're getting. You're getting great guitar riffs, great drums, great bass work from Myung. Sherinian this is Derek Sherinian's debut album right here. Not counting Falling into Infinity, that's his second. But he does a great job on the keyboards on this album, surprisingly. One of the few times I actually enjoy his keyboard work on this. It's a great album. EP, I should say, because it is of EP length in this case, 23 minutes. Some of the parts I like, obviously the Crimson Sunrise, I like the Innocence part on there. I do kind of like the Carpe Diem part on here. The Darkest of Winter, that instrumental part, crazy, chaotic, progressive metal at its freaking finest when it comes to that part. And then I believe Another World is where I guess the same person gets a little bit older. And then The Inevitable Summer, and then obviously the final part, The Crimson Sunset, where it's the same person who's a little bit much more older and, moves on from the world and all that stuff. But obviously the song and this EP, I would talk about the covers if I were to look and see who they covered, and they got songs on here. Fucking hell. A combination of Funeral for a Friend and Love Lies Bleeding, then Perfect Strangers. And then another one that has, I'm pretty sure this might be a Zeppelin one, which has the Rover, Achilles Last Stand, The Song Remains the Same. Yep. And then we got the big medley.
Zeppelin,
which contains In the Flash, Carry On Wayward Son from Kansas, Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen, Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin', I don't know who that's from, Cruise Control, and Journey. Okay, thank you.
Journey,
Cruise Control and Turn It On Again, which are, I just wanted to talk about the song itself. Great. Probably easily the best epic on here, as But yeah, I definitely say check this EP out. As
That's a
obviously
great
before,
EP. Yep.
yes, before I hand it to see what where is he at? Over here. Before I hand it off to Middle Ben, let's look at the chat. Wyatt says, I actually saw John on a G3 tour with Sash. Oh, this might have been when he was about to do, Terminal Velocity. No, wait. Suspended Animations, not Terminal Velocity. That was his most recent solo album. And he also says, Derek is also in Sons of Apollo with Pornoid. Yes, I know. Fantastic band. Speed King says, I love early Stratovarius. Lost track of them when they went to Symbolic, mostly on their last two albums. And he also said, Break the Ice is one hell of a song by Stratovarius.
That's a freaking excellent track. Yep, I agree.
All right.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
All right. So I pulled out a classic right here now. Going all the way back to the 70s. Yep, I'm talking about early Scorpions before they became quite huge. This would be the final album they did with Ole John Roth on guitars. I'm talking about the 1977 album, Taken by Force. Great album. Great album, in my humble opinion. Maybe their best album from the 70s. It's really hard to decide, but my God, you got great tracks on here. Like Steam Rock Fever. Steam Rock Fever is quite a different song for the Scorpions. It's actually rather punky sounding. It's very different. But yeah, it's a darn good opener to the album. You know, Will Burn the Sky is another excellent track on here. Such an epic track, too. You get some of Ole John Roth's neoclassical guitar solos. You get Claude Main's great vocals, obviously. I mean, the melody on this track's impressive, you know.
Nice.
So then we got I've Got to Be Free, the next track. Kind of a pretty hard rocking track, quite different. Sounds nothing like what the Scorpions would eventually sound like. It definitely has that 70s hard rock type of sound to it, you know. Kind of like a Hendrix type of feel to it in a lot of ways. It's a really good track, though. The Riot of Our Time would be the fourth track, another excellent track on here. Quite different. Now, on this track, you can hear a little bit of what they would sound like in the 80s or, you know, heading into the 80s. But it's still quite different because there's a little bit of a disco beat in there, which is kind of odd. But it sounds pretty damn killer. You know, it's got some great acoustic guitar work in here, you know. Then we get one of their most influential tracks, The Cells of Sarion.
Ooh.
Oh man, what a great track. It's been covered by Testament. Ingwe Malmsteen covered it. There's a bunch of other bands that have covered it. I mean, my goodness. It's just such a great track. It's got like an Egyptian neoclassical type of feel to it with the beginning of it and the guitar solos, you know, in this track. Yes. It almost has a little bit of a Richie Blackmore type of sound to it too. Like with Rainbow. It kind of reminds me of like how a track like The Gates of Babylon was structured. With the structure. It's very different. It's a great track. Your Light's next. Very Jimi Hendrix influenced. You can definitely hear the Hendrix influence on it. I mean, you know, it's pretty much a deep cut on the album. But it's another great track in my opinion. Then we get one of the earliest examples of thrash metal. That's right. Yes, definitely proto thrash metal, proto speed metal here. With He's a Woman, She's a Man. Easily the heaviest Scorpion song ever written. Yes, it's pretty heavy for the time. It you can definitely hear the proto thrash metal type of feel to it. but a short little fast song and pretty much to the point. Then we get to the last track, Born to Touch Your Feelings. Just a beautiful ballady track. It's gorgeous, man. Some of Ole John Roth's best guitar work is on this track. And the melody's just out of this fucking world. It's hypnotizing. That's how good it is. Yes. And Claus Main's vocals, just epic. So yeah, man, that's pretty much 1977's Taken by Force for you. A classic Scorpions album and the final album with Ole John Roth on guitars.
Yeah. Alrighty. I wanted to keep, for the fourth thing I'm going to talk about, I wanted to keep it in the modern day and talk about an EP because an EP that back in 2010. Well, before we do all that, I want to read the chat here real quick.
Go ahead.
Speaking says, occasional DT fan. When in the right mood, their first two albums are still my favorites. Now spinning TV comes in. Hello. He says,
"What's up, man?"
He or she says, "Is the new Helloween album out?" Speaking replied with, "Not yet, June." And he says, "Skyfall, their first single, is out." And then we got Wyatt coming back saying, "Taken by Force is a great album. Sales of Sharon is killer."
Damn straight, man. Absolutely killer.
Yes, obviously I wanted to keep it within modern times and talk about an EP that came out around 2010. Probably the same month, around that same time of some other albums. 2010 is really kind of a weird year. You had some good stuff, you had some bad stuff. Case in point, Iron Man, The Final Frontier, and Ozzy Scream. But there were some gems from that year, and one of the gems, in my opinion, is an EP from... Y'all might end up laughing at me for this one, but I absolutely love this EP. The EP is called Zombie, from the band, a metalcore band that has a little bit of some Christian lyrics in there, called The Devil Wears Prada. Hold on to your buzz about this one. I remember, because I was a huge fan of this band at the time, kind of had a falling out, but I am kind of excited for when they release Zombie 2 that's coming out in a month or so. I'm really excited for it.
That's you. That's definitely not me. Go ahead.
That's more me. But I remember getting this. I think I might have just got this because I was a huge fan of this band and listened to this, and my mind was freaking blown. Like, oh my fucking God, I never thought they could be this fucking heavy. It is fucking brutal. Like, borderlining deathcore, maybe even sometimes death metal a little bit more, maybe more melodic than death metal, but it's still relatively heavy as fuck. On vocals, we have Mike Renka. Yeah, weird name. And he does the growls. We have Jeremy, who does rhythm guitars, and I believe he's also the clean singer. I believe. I'm trying to remember all the members from the original lineup. I believe Daniel Williams, might have been the drummer, or something like that. Chris Ruby, I know, was kind of the lead guitar guy. I forgot the bassist, and I forgot the keyboardist, but it was basically the band's first initial lineup when they were doing albums that were really, really great, especially with the previous album, Root. And as you can tell by the name of the title of the EP, this is a concept EP about the zombie apocalypse. So it is, and you have to have it be really, really brutal, and it's really, really, it fits the time. It is a really killer EP. Starts off with Escape. Oh my God, Mike's harsh vocals. This is more harsh vocal driven and heavy guitar driven. From the get-go, this whole EP is heavy, heavy, heavy. Use of the growls, less of the cleans, more of freaking heavy, freaking evil sounding guitars from Chris and Jeremy. Oh my fucking God, this EP. Escape is a fucking great opener. Obviously the lyrics are all about the zombie apocalypse. And then we get into, I believe, Anatomy, which is another great one. Oh my god, probably my favorite on the EP. Fucking love it. And then we get into Outnumbered, which is basically kind of cool monologue at the beginning that says the virus has completely taken over 150 of the world's major regions and is spreading rapidly. None of them only one only of one method to kill the creatures. Destroy the brain. Beyond the guard of any loved ones that may have been sort of contact out of. And if you find yourself out in a threatening position, please do not hesitate to act. Again, this is not a test. This is not a joke. We as a species are overwhelmed. We are outnumbered. And it kicks in with everything from that monologue, which is kind of more like plays you would hear it on the radio or something like that. It's like more like a public service announcement you would hear on the radio. And he just kicks in with the rip on there. Oh my fucking god, it is freaking awesome. And I forgot what a fourth track was. Crap. Might have been Cure, I can't remember. It might have been Restore or Recover or something like that. I know I can't remember the name of it. But then it closes out with the final song called Survivor. And like I said, about the only way to know is going out the heavy way. And it's a great way to end such a killer EP that I wish was longer. And like I said, I am super excited for Zombie 2 EP. I am super excited for it to come out. But I dare say this album is a double thumbs up, and it's one of my favorites from that year. And probably the only thing I actually enjoyed in 2010, unless I find other albums from that year that I actually love more than it. But it is a killer. I know y'all don't care about this music, but if you care about listening to something that's about the zombie apocalypse or something that's heavy as fuck, get that EP. I definitely will get it again because I don't have it, unfortunately. But yeah.
All right. Well, okay. All right. I decided to pull out this release from 2003 on Century Media Records.
Ooh.
Talking about Nevermore.
Oh.
Enemies of Reality. That's the original mix. There is another version out there where the whole album got remixed. I don't have that version. But yeah, I will admit the production on this is quite muddy. Now, the other one is produced, I believe, by Andy Sneap. Yes, and we all know Andy Sneap is a famous metal producer who's produced Accept, Megadeth, oh my god, and a bunch of other bands. So, Enemies of Reality, this is definitely a heavy album. It's definitely a dark album. Enemies of Reality is the opening track, actually. Quite brutal, quite heavy, just to the point, And yes, definitely rest in peace to Warrell Dane.
Yes, I saw that.
But Enemies of Reality is a brutal track. It's heavy. Excellent guitar work, excellent double bass, What more can I say? It's just a kick-ass track. Ambivalent is next. Another really heavy track, Just brutal. And that's pretty much all there is to say about it. It's just brutal and dark and heavy, and angry. Never Purified slows down a bit, It's very dark. Pretty, just brutal sounding too. Now, track 4 is really interesting. Tomorrow Turned Into Yesterday. Pretty melodic track. It kind of sounds like, the way it's structured is kind of how Metallica used to write their mellow tracks back in the old days. if I were to do comparisons, like how they did their melodic tracks on albums like Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets or even Justice for All. I Voyager, just another kick-ass track. It's heavy, just an excellent track. You know, you get some great Jeff Loomis guitar playing. Obviously, you get great vocals by the late, great Warrell Dane. You know, just an excellent, excellent track. You know, Create the Infinite, another dark, heavy track. You know, not much to really say about it. Who Decides is another killer track, really heavy. Also, you know, Normanum. Now, this track's a bit more melodic. It's quite dark, and there's some excellent guitar solos by Jeff Loomis on here, man. I'm telling you. Some excellent melody parts that remind me of 70s Scorpions, like Ole John Rock type of guitar playing. But yeah, it's a pretty dark and heavy and melodic track. It's got like an Egyptian type of influence going on there too. There's some sitar solos in it. Then we get the final track on here, Seed Awakening, which is probably the thrashiest tune on here. You know, just pretty thrashy and a good way to end this great album. So yeah, Enemies of Reality from 2003 by Nevermore. Great album, man. But then again, Nevermore don't have a bad album.
Yeah. I can't say the same about the band I'm about to talk about, which will end up being my last pick for last album. Before I get into that, we say, look at chat. Speaking says, I need to revisit Nevermore. Agree with you, Ben, on Enemies. And he also said, just commented, still I prefer World when he was in with Sanctuary.
Oh, he was definitely awesome in Sanctuary, no doubt about it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can't say the same about the band where the last pick I have for an album review. They've done, well, more recently, they've done more questionable albums, but I can't deny. And this one, obviously, I just changed at the last minute. And I figured, you know what? I don't know if I'm ever going to do this band, because leave it with Mike. At some point, the band in question is Opeth. And at some point, I might put on the channel Mike's, Opeth thing. Mike, if you're watching, your Opeth video might end up being on the channel at some point. But I figured I wanted to talk about this album because I know a little bit more about this one, and has a very, very sentimental place in my heart when it comes to it, and a very big influence on my harsh vocals. And that album is Black Water Park.
And it just turned 20 years old too.
Yeah, that's coincidence. I don't think so. I figured I wanted to talk about because I only got into this album 6 years ago, so I wasn't around. I was probably only a kid. I didn't know about them. I don't know what Speaking is asking for, but he says, "Are you familiar with Labyrinth's cover of Die for My Sin?"
I know Labyrinth, but I don't think I ever heard that cover. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, but obviously, Blackwater Park is a freaking classic. I believe the lineup at the time is Michael Ackerfeld on guitar, and he does the vocals, harsh and clean. I believe, what was his name? I have to look. Thank God this has sleeves on it. Peter Lindgren on guitar, and then you got the Martins. Martin, I believe, is Martin Lopez, the drummer, who's also in a band called Stone, and we also got Warrell Mendez, who's been the band's current bassist since Still Life. He joined around My Arms Your Hearse, but this has been the lineup since My Arms Your Hearse. kicks off with the Leper Affinity. Fan- Fantastic. The growls from Michael on here. The guitar work is great from both Peter and Michael on here. The growls on here. Michael's cleaning is it's more of the growls than it is the cleans. But there is the one part that I love from this song, and it is the part where he does the long ass scream after deafening shrieks pierce the night. And I pulled that off a few times just listening to it by myself, and then there are times where I'm like, I can't pull that crap off. But I don't know how Michael at the time could pull that off, but holy fucking shit, he can pull it off. Bleak has a little bit more clean on this one, but it still has some great growls from Michael on here. Then we get into Harvest. This and I think Leper were one of the songs when I first listened to this on CD, which I still have, were the standouts. And obviously this album over time grew to absolutely be perfect where I have it on CD and vinyl. But Harvest, fantastic ballad track from them. This is basically what they would end up being like in later albums like Heritage and Onward. But still kind of got some spooky elements in there. Like, they had just done that. I think it would have been perfect. And then we got the Drapery Falls, which kind of splits half and half. Like, a few songs on here, the next two songs, basically, the Drapery Falls and Dirge for November, kind of split half and half, where it's like, first half has kind of got some cleans, and then second half has some, it goes into some growls, and then it goes, somewhat kind of goes back to cleans, but Dirge is kind of more like, first half is the cleans, and then the second half is probably the growls and stuff like that. Funeral Portrait is one of those that's majority of the growls, kind of like a Leper Affinity, going back to that kind of way, with the last bit being the cleans. One of my favorites on here. Then we get into a little interlude song, Patterns in the Ivy, which leads to the title track, the 12-minute song, Blackwater Park. All 100% growls from Michael. Oh my fucking god.
That's a heavy track.
Awesome, lengthy epic to close out a perfect album. And I guess I could why not show off the vinyl. This is the 2010 version, by the way, people. The vinyl looks like that with some gold in the middle for both of them. Really cool with some lyric sheets and some thank yous. But this album is absolutely perfect. And I love this album to death. And I'm kind of glad I chose this one over another one I might do in another one. But, Blackwater Park, if y'all are a fan of this stuff, definitely check it out if you haven't checked that out. Because you should. It is fucking awesome.
I remember hearing it back in 2001 when it first came out.
Hell yeah. Okay, Ben, what is basically the last album you're going to review? Well, before we do that, I got some songs on, some stuff that on the chat real quick. Speaking says Blasphemy, but it is even better than World's original version. And Wyatt says Marta Lopez was also on the first Amon Amarth album. Thank you for letting me know that, Wyatt. So, all right, Ben, the last album that you want to talk about. I'm going
to try to talk about this one to the best of my abilities. Kind of a blind pick here. I'm going with the debut album by Fate's Warning, Night on Brocken.
Nice.
Yes. Now, on this album, they hadn't quite developed their sound yet, I guess you would say.
They were. I know for a fact they were more the power metal style.
Yeah, it's more like an Iron Maiden type of style, definitely.
Yeah, more power metal than it is prog, where they would later incorporate the prog and be fully prog later on.
Right. So this would be with John Arch on vocals, obviously.
Ooh, John Arch.
The original vocalist.
Which, fun fact, Metallica were trying to get him to be their vocalist.
I did hear about that one time. That's kind of interesting.
but it never came to fruition. I would have loved to have seen that.
And of course, John Arch kind of has a Bruce Dickinson type of style to his vocals, maybe a Jeff Tate type of style to his vocals, compared to Ray Alder, who would replace John Arch later on down the road, or actually just a few years down the road. So yeah, we got the debut here, Night on Brocken, released in 1984 on Metal Blade Records. So yeah, the opening track, Buried Alive, definitely has an Iron Maiden type of vibe to it. Very Iron Maiden influenced. You can definitely tell. It's kind of like I don't know, man. If I were to compare it, maybe it kind of like a track like 2 Minutes Till Midnight, kind of in
Yeah.
that style. You got The Calling, which is another decent track. You know, which again, it's kind of more Iron Maiden type of influence too. Kiss of Death, is another pretty decent track on here. It's got some decent rips by Jim Matthews. You know, so yeah, it definitely has that new wave of British heavy metal type of feel to it. Night on Brocken is next, the title track. Excuse me. Pretty decent track overall. Not much to say about it really. So then we get a short little acoustic instrumental here called SEK. Yeah, it's just SEK. Not sure what it means, but yeah, a little bit of a acoustic instrumental. You got Misfit. Yeah, it is what it is. It's an okay track. Don't have much memory of it, to be honest. Shadowfax, short little tune. Pretty. I think it's pretty fast from what I remember. You know, kind of a forgettable tune in a way. Now we get to one of the epics on the album. Now this does have a little bit of progressiveness to it. Track Damnation, which okay. Shadowfax. Let's go back to Shadowfax. Okay, memory's coming back now. It's a short little instrumental track. Yeah, pretty similar to an Iron Maiden type of track too. You know, and that's pretty much what Shadowfax is. Definitely has an Iron Maiden feel to it. Back to Damnation, okay. Back to Damnation. Definitely an epic track on here. Starts off really melodic. Definitely has a 70s Judas Priest vibe to it. I mean, there's parts where he actually kind of sounds like Halford when he's singing. But yeah, it's probably the most progressive track on here. Then we got Soldier Boy to close the album out. Pretty strong closer to the album. Definitely wouldn't say this is the best Fates Warning album, but it's a decent debut album. Even if it is almost a Iron Maiden worship type of album. But the albums after this would definitely get better. Especially the next album, The Spectrum Within.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I got for my final review for the night. All right. Well, I guess that's the show tonight.
Yep, we talked about Skyfall. We talked about some albums and some songs and EPs.
Yeah, we probably spent about 15 minutes on the new Helloween track, Skyfall, which we both think is an excellent track. We think it's definitely an excellent track. We definitely think it's a throwback to the Keeper of the Seven Keys days. It actually sounds like it could. It actually sounds like it could easily follow Keeper of the Seven Keys. And Michael Kiskell has not missed a beat, nor has Kai Hansen. The band sounds phenomenal. Definitely looking forward to that new album on June 18th, coming out on Nuclear Blast Records. By the way, before we end the stream, I do have an announcement to make. Tuesday night episodes will not be happening no more. Yeah. They're gonna be moved to Friday night. because starting on May 1st, I get Fridays and Saturdays off from my job, which I'm pretty happy about. So yeah, Friday nights more than likely will be where the Damaged Chronicles episodes will air. And
Hell yeah.
coming up on Tuesday, I will be interviewing Josh Dominus and his one-man project Morticide, which is him. So definitely be on a look for that on Tuesday. It's going to be probably one of the last Tuesday episodes that I will do. Then Operation to move it over to Fridays, like I said. So definitely be on a lookout for that.
Yes. And obviously for Damage Incorporated, our ranking for Metallica is already up there. Go and check it out. I'll give Ben the link. Link for that video will be in the description. That'll be over on our Patreon channel. Next Friday we'll also be debuting a more well edited version of Ben's Except Worst to Best. Just added a few different key differences from his, and then obviously the Friday after that will be the first new retrospective on our Patreon channel, where it will be me talking about the funeral doom metal band Tergothen. So head on over to our Patreon channel to go and follow us and help us become probably the most followed rock/metal related channel over there.
Yes. I definitely still need to upload some videos to Patreon myself.
And we got in here, Speed King says, I am very excited about the upcoming Artillery album in May.
That's right, new Artillery's coming out. I still need to hear that new song. I know they dropped a new song. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. You know, their guitar player unfortunately passed away last year, Morten Stutzer, one of the co-founding members. So I'm sure the album's definitely dedicated to him. I love Artillery. Artillery's one of my favorite thrash bands, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check that out. Got anything else?
No, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay.
Other than, obviously, before we leave, we got one more in here. Oh, and he speaking says, and bottom after midnight.
Man, that's a shame. It's only a 3-song EP too, but it was the last stuff recorded with Alexi Leo before unfortunately he passed away earlier in the year. I did hear the new, okay, I'm going to talk about that real quick before I end the stream. I did hear that new Bottom After Midnight track. It's freaking good. If you like early Children of Bodom, you will love that new track. I got to look it up I got to look it up real quick because I forget the name of the track.
Like we got ourselves another one to talk about.
Okay, yeah, the track's called
Speaking says True Ben, excellent track. This is a must buy.
Oh yeah, it's called Paint the Sky with Blood, and that's what the EP's called. You know, unfortunately, you know, it's the final thing Alexi Leo has recorded, will ever record because he's not here no more. I mean, it's supposed to be a full album, obviously, and, you know, the accident happened with Alexi. But yeah, it's an amazing track. I'm telling you. It sounds way more energized compared to the last few Children of Bodom albums. If you like the early stuff like Hatebreeder, the debut Something Wicked, Follow the Reaper, and Hate Crew Death Roll, definitely the first 4 albums, you'll love this new freaking track. It's good. Excellent guitar work for Alexi to go out on. There's another track on the EP too. I forget what it's called, and he does a dissection cover on the EP, which I'm really anxious to hear. Haven't seen anything of it on here on YouTube yet, but I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's an excellent track. Definitely check it out. It is an awesome track. And I believe that's all I have.
Yep.
I believe that's pretty much all I got right now. Yeah. Stay tuned for more episodes of Damaged Chronicles and more videos here on Metal Ben's Chronicles.
Yes.
I'm going to be showing my Axel Rudy Pell collection here very soon. I got all the studio albums now.
Hell yeah.
Might be ranking the Gravedigger albums. I know Darcy's 6-string 9 Lives wants me to rank them all, so I'm probably going to do that here soon.
That will also, in a different way, will pretty much be on Damage Incorporated. So
right,
definitely check that out as well.
But yeah, man, that's pretty much it for this episode of Damage Chronicles, episode 5.
We will see.
And you know what we say around here.
We will see y'all later. And keep things metal.
Metal. All right, peace out.